Hello, folks. Welcome to tonight. Merry Christmas to you and all of your loved ones. I am Sam Santalone, and it's been a couple weeks since we did a live video. So to celebrate Christmas, I thought we'd do a Q&A and also talk about some of my favorite parts of the area for 2022. You saw in the title of the video about spots that I think are going to be, good spots to target as we get into this year. Prices have gone up. I've talked about all the things about the market. I'm going to talk about more about that as we go, but I do think this is going to be a fascinating year. I'm analyzing this thing like crazy, what the market's doing, what's happening with houses. It's just going to be interesting because there are so few houses on the market right now. And that's typical for the time of year. But at the same time, it's even more so this year. And the reason is because there's been so much scarcity all the way through the year and going up into the fall, into the winter time. And so because of that, there have been so many people that wanted houses, and they've been gobbling up whatever's left. And just typical cycles. It's Christmas time. People don't want to move in the Christmas time. So what happens? People don't list their houses in Christmas time, and people don't always try and buy in Christmas time. So we find ourselves in this little bit of a lull. What happens after that? The day after the new year, it's like, boom, people say, I'm ready to move. I am ready to put my house on the market. All the things start happening and the market restarts up again. So what I want to say here first is to be prepared for that, to be prepared for that shot in the arm that the market has every year. And it's regardless of the market conditions. It always happens every year. And so I want to help prepare you for that so you can get ahead of the game if you're buying, if you're moving here, living here, or how to prepare for any sort of new construction elements. I want to talk about new construction because right now it is so hard to find new construction. So I want to incorporate that into the decision-making process because you basically have two options. You say, if you're going to live here and move here, do you want to buy a house that's pre-existing, that's been built, or do I want to build? And that's a common question I get a lot, and I want to answer that too. So if you have any questions, any comments, put them in the chat. I'm reading the chat as we go along. So if you have any questions at all, I want to make sure I answer those, and specifically pertaining to areas around here that I like a lot, or talking about new construction, talking about the plans and the processes to moving in this area. So now let's get first into some areas I think are going to be affected a lot by these next few months in a positive way, in as far as growth and pricing. So I want to first show you, go into, there's one area I want to talk about, and it's on the map. I'm going to show you on the map. It's actually called Western Branch. And if you've never heard of Western Branch, I'm going to show you what Western Branch looks like once I share my screen, because sharing my screen is important, but I still am learning how to do this. So we're going to go into Western Branch, which is on the western side of Chesapeake, right? So we go Western Branch. If you look at this whole section on this western side of Chesapeake, see this red circle here. So Chesapeake, first of all, is this huge. The city of Chesapeake is massive. It's a horseshoe. Look how big it's huge. It goes all the way around Portsmouth. It's south of Norfolk and then west and southwest of Virginia Beach. This is all Chesapeake. But Western Branch is an interesting piece because it's on the far west side, and it's often not talked about very much because people, when they think of Chesapeake, they think of the south section of Chesapeake, like this Great Bridge area or the Hickory area, Grassfield. All this section of Cedar Road, Battlefield Boulevard, all these Greenbrier is a common place that people talk about. But this is not an area that is often talked about, Western Branch. And the reason I talk about Western Branch is because it's far enough away from the rest of the city, Chesapeake, or the rest of even Hampton Roads on the south side in the peninsula. It's far enough away from there to where it's not as focused on, but it's got a pretty high ranked school district in demand for this area. And also it's close to lots of things that aren't necessarily close to the beach over at the ocean front, but close to lots of other things. For example, you're close to the Newport News Hampton area in the peninsula. For example, if you're going to Langley, stationed at Langley, stationed at Fort Eustis, if you're even taking a job in Newport News and Hampton, or even up towards closer to Williamsburg and Yorktown, this is a spot you can get off through the tunnel 664 into Newport News. And from here down here in Western Branch up to Newport News, it's like 8 to 10 minutes, if not less. Or you can even go up across Route 17. This is called the James River Bridge and crosses the James River, and you can bypass the tunnel as well. But you're close to that on this Western Branch side, and you're 664. You're also close to lots of land. And the reason this matters is because look at all this space. This is Suffolk. Suffolk's the largest land size area in all of Virginia. Well, you're next to that. And so you feel like you're close to rural areas. The reason that matters is because there's more options for new construction. And we've talked a lot about new construction before. New construction right now is so incredibly hard to find. It is so hard to find. Part of the reason is because the scarcity with all the resale houses that have been bought up. People are like, I'd rather just buy a house, lock my price in, get that price set. I can wait out the process and close on my house in 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Well, what's happened? Supply has gone down in new construction. So there are fewer options, especially in Virginia Beach. If you look at Virginia Beach right now, the new construction options in Virginia Beach, first of all, nothing under 600,000, I think, period, as far as detached houses. And I think there are about probably 10 to 15 options. And I'm not saying neighborhoods, I'm saying options right now in like the $600,000 to $900,000 range, period. And those options, most of those are not going to be built finished completion for like a solid several months. And so you can find some that are sooner than that, but it's very, very hard to find. So your scarcity is a big deal here. And especially even if you go over towards Norfolk, there are more options in Norfolk, but again, school district becomes a factor if you're trying to avoid school district issues. Some parts of Norfolk you might not want to go to. Chesapeake, it's massive. People love Chesapeake new construction. There's been such a large amount of new construction in Chesapeake, and there still is some, but it's still more expensive. So you're talking, relatively speaking, 5 and up for even like detached condos, but 6 and up for most new construction, 4 or 5 bedrooms, 25 and 100 and up square foot. I mean, you're talking 600,000 at least for most of the areas in South Chesapeake. But if you shift over to West Chesapeake, granted, there are fewer options because there's less land size over in Western Branch, but you get a school district that's in demand to a certain extent over on this side, but you get some spots that have more options for new construction in also under 600,000. Now you're talking like 5s and maybe sometimes a little bit less than that, but around that $500,000 range, price range, and upper 4s, that's still possible in parts of Western Branch. So if you want to stay in that lower like that, and under 550, Western Branch for new construction, that is, Western Branch is a great option. Now, if you're going over further than that, if you take Western Branch, shift over just a little bit over towards Harris Teeter. This is northeast Suffolk. This whole section, Harborview. Over towards this is Bennett's Creek, Bridge Road, south of Bridge Road. In this whole area near even Sleepy Hole. Around here, you've got more land. When we go to this drop, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Rural, it's pretty much rural. There you go. Good example. This is, what is that? I don't know what that is. Anyway, it's basically your rural land. You've got random plots of land all over the place. You've got small neighborhoods to your right or to your left. So there, but my point here is you're going to have a more of a rustic feel to this section compared to anywhere like in the south. Part of Southern Chesapeake can feel this way, but it's cheaper over here. So going back to the map, you can still get onto Route 17 off in Suffolk into this Route 17 section 664 and over towards the James River Bridge towards Newport News if you live over in this section. Otherwise, you can still hit Route 17 from Suffolk all the way across to 164. This area, this road takes you all the way almost to downtown Norfolk. So you can get from Suffolk to downtown Norfolk in like 20 minutes. So if there's this Midtown Tunnel is here. There's a toll there, which is one of the drawbacks of living on this side. And that's what also keeps the prices just a little bit lower too. So if you work on this section and you don't have to drive all the way across town, this is the spot to me. And again, you can still stay under the $475, $500, and up to $600,000 price range for new construction. However, at the same time, if you want something that's like in the 4s or even 3s and not new construction, you've got some other options in Western Branch as well. Chesapeake Square Mall, as a mall near here. Here's your big boxes, your Home Depot, Walmart, Sam's, grocery stores, Best Buy, all through here. This is kind of your central place that you would be living and shopping, other than the northeastern section where this awesome Kroger is. It's one of my favorite Krogers. And then near the Walmart up here. These are your two primary shopping sections. Small one over here, but these are two main spots here, connected by 664. So this corridor here, I think, is really becoming on strong and going to keep coming on strong as the appreciation in Virginia Beach and parts of Norfolk, North Central Virginia Beach, and South Central Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, those go up. This is an area to target, especially if you are in that $400,000 to $600,000 price range. Then my other point in this is, go back to here, is that Amazon is coming to Suffolk. They're already here, really. There are several places where Amazon has started construction in, especially the main one right now is just west of Chesapeake Square Mall, over in the section over near, it's a good Sleepy Holes. I think that's too far. I think it's right here near Shoulders Hill. I don't remember the exact spot over off 337, but there it is, Amazon Fulfillment. There it is right there. That's one of 3 different locations that Amazon, there you go. I'll show you the news story. 3 new logistics centers in Suffolk through 2022. That's through this coming year. A bunch of new jobs, large buildings being built up. You see here, this is happening in real time. Amazon's coming. And part of the reason is because Amazon knows that there's a lot of land options in Suffolk, in that general area. And I go back to the map here, the Chesapeake line where the Amazon is, it's real close. So if you look at like where Western Branch is, there's the edge right there, and there's Amazon. So it's technically in Suffolk, but it's really like right next to Chesapeake. So if you live on the side and you commute right to Amazon, you're going to sound very far, for example. So going back here, they're going to have, well, actually, I guess it's 4 centers. But there's the fulfillment center, the big one, is over in that Northgate Park. That's where I was pointing at. So lots of new things happening in Suffolk, and also Western Branch. To answer your question, Amazon has a few warehouses around Chesapeake. Oh yeah, and dropped loads. Yeah, actually, that's very good. True, David. I know someone that does deliveries in the South section in like South Norfolk, which I need to talk more about South Norfolk too, to give some more education on that area, because South Norfolk is a very often confusing section that I want to get into. And it's because it's not Norfolk, but in South Norfolk, you'll see a lot of, I think Amazon's got one right near Compostela, and I believe it's Compostela and Chesapeake Avenue. I can't remember. Anyway, it's over in this section, but you're absolutely right. So appreciation is coming. Appreciation is coming with inflation. We all have talked about inflation so long. So as prices are increasing, I would definitely target this Western Branch section. Now, shifting over, answer Philip Baker, how far is the drive from Suffolk to Norfolk? Okay, great question. So it depends on where in Norfolk you want to go. And going back to the map, you can look on, so let's just use Northeast Suffolk, for example. Like this is area called Harborview, is awesome, but it's also in this 8 to $1 million plus along the water, great views along the water. But up here, if you literally were in Harborview, and there's some sections in here in the 3s, hitting Harborview to 664 and over towards Norfolk, like I mentioned before, near Ghent, from here over to here, 14 minutes, 10 to 15, depends on traffic. Now, if you're in Suffolk, over like in the central part of Suffolk, this is where it gets a little further. For example, well, let's plug it in. Let's see where the Harris Teeter, directions to, let's go to, well, there's 28 minutes there. Let's go to, let's go to let's just say Ghent. Say Ghent. 14 minutes. Still got it. So that's because you're going through the toll, right? So if you go around that section, it's going to take a lot longer. So you have 2 options. You can go all the way, you can go straight through towards Ghent, and then downtown Norfolk is right here. So it's add another 3 minutes. There you go, 16 minutes. You can go, I guess, 264 there, but it's about the same. Or if you're going to be on this northern section, like towards the base, that's going to be closer to 25 minutes, I would say. There you go, 26 minutes right there towards the base. Now, here's where I would say, if you don't want the toll, you have to go all the way around. And that's to say, avoid tolls. There you go. That's a great example. 31 minutes, and that's with no traffic. You can go through 2 tunnels, kind of risky, towards the base. 30 minutes if there's no traffic. If there's traffic, you got an hour and above easy all day long. You can go the other way through the high rise, and that will take you to 36 minutes. So in general, if there's no traffic, that's a good example, 35 minutes to 40, but it can take you an hour or so if there's traffic, if not more. But if you're in the middle of Suffolk, that Route 58, it's a straight shot, still 36 minutes right there. But to me, it's a little bit further. It feels farther because you have the thing that keeps the areas near the northeastern section of Suffolk and Chesapeake feels closer to Norfolk, for example, and the rest of the area is this 164 taking it straight across. So if you're okay with that toll, that's the toll. That's what I would say is the biggest thing. But, you know, I don't know if that's too far. Hey, 20 on good day, 45 to an hour on bad day. Dave he's right. That's exactly right. So you got to be able to, it really depends on where you are in Norfolk, for example, and where you're working and where you're going to be in Suffolk. And so again, back to Suffolk, saying that, hey, I want to move into Suffolk. Well, again, Suffolk, I'll show you how large Suffolk is. So it goes to Franklin, Windsor, this whole, I mean, Chesapeake's actually pretty big too, but Suffolk's bigger. And all this, like you could move into like Route 58 off over here, like West Suffolk, that's pushing an hour just on an average day. And it's a long drive. It's a country drive. Most of it's going to be, you know, those quiet roads or along like Route 58. It's just going to be won't be very exciting. Let's put it that way. So it just depends on what your tolerance level is for driving. But if you are okay with that, if you're okay with the drive, Suffolk can save some money. And that's the big overarching thing here with anywhere in Hampton Roads, whether it be Peninsula or the South Side, is how tolerant are you of traffic going from place to place? If you live on Langley, I've talked about this in I think a couple other videos. Langley Air Force Base is a great example of what I'm talking about. There are some spots around Langley Air Force Base right here that are close, like Tab High School, 10 to 15 minutes away. There's some great neighborhoods in like Grafton. This is like South Yorktown. And of course, that's one option people have. Otherwise, you have Newport News and Hampton, and some people don't want to go to Newport News or Hampton because of school districts and all that. But the options then shift to, do you want to drive 45 minutes to Williamsburg, 35, 45 or so, or yeah, in that range? Or do you want to go across to Carrollton, which I'll mention a little bit later, as well as Northeast Suffolk and Western Branch, Western Chesapeake. And so the further away you go, the more options you have. And so my point on is to say that the more you're willing to tolerate driving, the more options you're going to keep yourself if you want to keep under a certain price range, if that makes any sense. So I want to shift over from Suffolk. One more little turn here. I want to go from here, 664, up towards going Route 17, Bridge Road, up to Carrollton. This is not a very big area, but it definitely is a good option to pivot if you don't find what you want in Suffolk or what you want in Western Branch. The reason is you can still get good new construction under 6, even 5, in the 4s sometimes, and mostly 5s really, in Carrollton. Another pivot. And it's especially helpful if you're looking for something that's getting you close to Langley or even close to Fort Eustis and you can't find new construction or newer houses in this section up in the Northern Peninsula. Because here's the thing about Chesapeake, West Chesapeake, South Chesapeake, Northeast Suffolk or Central Suffolk, and then into Carrollton, not as much Smithfield, but Carrollton. There are newer houses being built or have been built. So even if you don't want new construction, you can get houses built in the 5, 10, 15-year-old range and get those newer floor plans, newer open styles, as opposed to if you want to be in Virginia Beach, you're going to be in the central Virginia Beach, like, for example, Kings Grant. Plop us down there, you'll see the houses built in the 60s, for example. You know, I love these neighborhoods myself, but a completely different vibe than what if you're looking for something newer, something that's got more, you know, the rooms are a bit more open. And I'll show you. Let me plop you down over into Carrollton, over near Eagle Harbor, which should be right here. There we go. I'll plop you down here. Let's see. You can see this. These are built in the last several years. See what I'm talking about? This is very hard to find in Virginia Beach. It is. You can find it. Like this house, for example, reminds me of some spots in areas near, they call it Asheville Park. Not the same thing, but it's similar kind of thing. Asheville Park, 700 and up. You know, this upper 4s, lower 5s, mid 5s. So you're going to save yourself a lot of money getting the same kind of thing, but you're going to be driving farther, right? Back to that again. Seth asks, how far would the drive be from Carrollton to somewhere like Ghent? Another good question. I love this. So Carrollton going across, so here's the thing about Carrollton, and Smithfield is like kind of this on steroids. You're about 15 minutes from Carrollton to about the center of 164. So it's going to take you about 15 minutes to get to here. You got 2 legs of your trip. It's going to take you about, I would guess, about 30 to get to Ghent. And about almost an hour to get over to Virginia Beach. So it's not an easy drive, or not for the faint of heart. But if you're okay with tolls, let's just do it. Let's see how close I am. Let's just say Eagle Harbor apartments. Let's put the apartments in there. Just be Eagle Harbor. There we go. Do that, and we're going to drive to Ghent. Okay, so 23 minutes. I was undershooting it a little bit, but I don't know. I think you'll find getting right close to the tunnel, you might get a little bit of backup. But again, it's 8:51 right now, so at 25 to 30, I think is reasonable. Now, again, here's the thing: you've got multiple options to get to that area. If for some reason, and this is a very uncommon reason, if for some reason this is backed up, you can bolt across the bridge. You're super close to the James River Bridge, and I'll plop us down in the Street View so you can see that. Then you go right across through Newport News. This is not as nice of a drive, but you can go through the tunnel and go all the way around. But that's not convenient. I would never do that unless I had to. But let's just plop down, just see. Like you're like, so if you turn one way, there's Eagle Harbor is that way. Go this way, there's the bridge. You can go right straight across towards Newport News. So again, same kind of thing with Carrollton as much as it is with Northeast Suffolk and Central Suffolk, and also Western branches. Again, scarcity is still a thing. It's not a huge area, and not everything's being developed, all at the same time. You'll have more individual houses being built, not as many neighborhoods, but they're there. Eagle Harbor is a great example of that. Founders Point is over here in Carrollton as well, in the low mid 6s and up from there. But if you want something that's a little bit bigger, different kind of neighborhood, you're okay going up in that set 6 to 8 ish, and then maybe 9 range, depending on the size of the house. You could find some over there. Individual houses anywhere from over near Sleepy Hole, near Cedar Point over here, near Crittenden, Crittenden Road. There it is. Anything around this section, also some good spots. You can find individual houses or some of these newer neighborhoods that I think are going to get some nice appreciation coming soon. Okay, so David, got a lot of traffic because during summer, OMG, we do have the festivals. Yeah. So once again, David's right. Ghent, I'd say downtown Norfolk has a lot, and also into Virginia Beach has a lot, especially into 4th of July, which you will almost never catch me at the oceanfront at 4th of July. I used to work at a hotel where I would drive people to the beach and back, and during 4th of July was the worst. It took us over 2 hours one time to get home. It was a 20-minute normal drive. Anyway, not worth it to me. There are other good light spots. So I hope that answers your question. But I do think this whole area is going to become even more so of a factor as Virginia Beach gets up into the 6s, the 7s, the 8s, as Norfolk gets into the 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s, as Chesapeake gets into new construction in the 6s to 8s and 9s. Where do you find that 4 to 5, 6 range? Where do you even find something like even a newer style house, maybe under 4? That's going to be harder in general, but it can happen in very specific spots. So I hope that answers questions as far as general areas are concerned that I'm liking right now. That also will shift me over to Newport News side, the peninsula side. This is not new construction element, but I'm going to add some new construction into this as well. I think that this is going to be a common discussion, especially as well, is it going to be worth it to live in Newport News and Hampton and commute to the Norfolk area, Virginia Beach area, or Chesapeake area? Is it going to be worth it? And the answer to me right now is no. And I've encouraged people to please be careful about that, especially if you've never lived here before. This 64 Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is the pits. It's the pits. And that's a terrible example of what the tunnel looks like, because it's not the tunnel. That's the Chamberlain Hotel. Let's try this one more time. There's the bridge. So, there's a tunnel. So this tunnel is the bane of half the bane of half the city's existence. And so it's partly frustrating because, I mean, it backs up through past Hampton University, through, I mean, even past 664 sometimes. It can back up miles, both sides, either side, going from, getting out of work. So it's just, it seems fine right now. So if I just say, let's just say let's just say Langley Air Force Base, and then let's just say we're going to go to, let's just say Kings Grant. 42 minutes. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, it's 9 o'clock and there's no traffic. Wait until we do depart at, let's just say we depart at, let's just say 8 in the morning. 40 minutes to an hour. Typically 50 minutes to an hour and 10. Yeah, an hour is more reasonable to me. And it's not a fun hour because once you get to about right here, then you pass the airport, a few exits behind, you'll start getting backups from people going into the Norfolk Navy base and also going to Little Creek and then going across the tunnel. And then on the other side, the other way around, it's also the same way, mostly going the other direction, especially going from Hampton side to going back into the Norfolk side at the end of the day. So it just backs up, you're going to say, if it says 45 minutes, make it an hour 10, and it could be more than that. And you might have to take detours to get there. And it's just not fun. And then if you find yourself getting on the wrong road, anyways, it's just not fun. Here's the thing. You're going to add some lanes, doubling the sizes of the lanes in the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. I think they'll be done in 3 years. I got to check that to make sure, but it will be done relatively soon. I say relatively soon because, David's got some good comments. I'll mention that to you. I'll come back to you in a second, but they're going to be double. If anybody lives in this area and knows the time frame of the finished bridge or the tunnel, let me know or put in the comments for people, because this could really influence the demand of Newport News and Hampton living and commuting, going across to Norfolk and Virginia Beach. So right now there's enough of a chasm. You can get a house in Hampton, like, your basic house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square feet for, you can get in the mid 2s, low 3s to start, right? That difference, you get for the same house in Virginia Beach, you might have to pay $75,000 to $100,000 more for the same house. So a house that's $250,000 in Hampton could easily be $325,000 or more in Virginia Beach. So the difference there, I think, could narrow once the tunnel is doubled in size. Because then if the traffic does work, if the traffic is easier to come across, and that time is now the commute time is narrowed, I think that's going to influence people that would be more willing to live across the water. Okay. So that's speculative, but I think of anywhere appreciation wise that you can still capture now before it really becomes a thing. I think knowing that the tunnel is being built, being able to buy on this side of the area, I think could really, I think the prices, especially near Buckrow Beach in this North Hampton section, that area it's great. It feels totally different than the rest of the south section of the peninsula. And I think you could really see some appreciation. Buckrow Beach it's building up right along the water anyway. I'll show you right here. You see that's Sam, that's not built up. Well, it's a real specific spot. So that's part of the benefit of Buckrows. You can be close to that and you can get a house like that, save some money, but you're also going to be close to this. There's Buckrow. I got too close, but you'll see some houses over there. There's newer houses. So things are happening in this section, but that tunnel is going to could really change things. Now, I've also heard elements of potential for tolls to be put here. If that's the case, that could also hamper the appreciation increase here, similar to the way it is in Portsmouth and also this Western Branch side, trying to get over to the south of the Virginia Beach and Norfolk and Chesapeake side. Same idea. People don't want to pay tolls. And if it's going to be $100 a month to run a toll, how much is that? That's a $15,000 or so mortgage equivalent for that payment right now. So anyway, moving on. So just keep Hampton Newport News in mind for appreciation potential if you're like looking to speculate somewhere because of that tunnel. So David, daily parking with waterfront view. There's a lot of parking now over. Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about on the south side of Virginia Beach near the park. Anyway, wait till the 7 a.m. whistle blows. Does 6 a.m. beat rush hour? Well, anybody locally, you can also chime in here, but it can. Sometimes no, but 6 a.m. definitely helps, especially before 6:30, I would say. It's a coin flip once you get past 6:30 to 7. I mean, you'll start seeing a lot of congestion as you get into the early 7 o'clock realm. So I think it's you'll see so is David, you say the start of it. Is that when you're saying that, do you mean being rush hour? I would agree with that. I think it's reasonable to expect you'll have a better experience, but it's not automatic. Is that due to the roads bottlenecking down to only 2 lanes? Partly. David's okay. This is okay. You guys are talking, so this is awesome. Yep, that David, I agree with all of what David's saying. So the tunnel traffic a lot of it is from brakes and just the chain reaction, the domino effect of brakes, and all of a sudden you got this long, slow moving traffic line, and you're like, what happened? Nothing happened. People just braked in the tunnel. Great fishing in Buckrow. Yep, I agree. I don't fish, but I've heard that. But choose to live in Suffolk or Chesapeake or Suffolk, will that avoid the tunnel? I'm coming from San Diego. I have no idea what to expect. I appreciate that question, and I appreciate the honesty. Hurricane Bryce. All right, David, let's not scare people. I mean, hurricanes can come here, but David, you tell me, how many have we seen in the last 20 years that have been really concerning? Isabel, Matthew, I missed a couple of others. I say, 3 or 4? So maybe one every 5 years that has come in and has caused some sort of damage that has affected some part of the area, but it's not widespread. Matthew and Isabel are probably the 2 worst, 2003 and 2016, 16, I believe. And anyway, you can see him. I said, thanks, David. He's great. So if you choose to live in Chesapeake or Suffolk, will that avoid the tunnel? If you're coming from, San Diego, I'm assuming you're going to be going to Norfolk Navy Base. So if that's the case, then the way to avoid the tunnel is to go down 64. So you can avoid the tunnel. It's just going to take you a lot longer to get to the base. If you're going to here, even Little Creek's over here. Either way, it's going to take you longer to get there. It's going to take you closer to 50 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes, depends, maybe an hour. You don't have to go through both of these tunnels, like the Hampton Roads Bridge tunnel. But if you want to get there quickest, it probably would be a good option to try and go through the Midtown Tunnel. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 tunnels. Midtown, got the downtown tunnel here, and then you've got the Monterey Merrimack Bridge tunnel here, and then the Hampton Roads Bridge tunnel here. So the tunnel I'm talking about here is this Midtown Tunnel. It's the smaller of the 4, I think the smallest, but Midtown and downtown are the same. I guess it's a little bit bigger than downtown. Anyway, if you're going to really save some time, that's your move, I think. But if you don't want to go through tunnels, 664 to what is considered the high-rise bridge, which they're adding on to this as well across the Elizabeth River right here, doubling the size of this as well. So a lot of things are happening with. So this area used to. So see this. This picture was taken right as they started working on the bridge, I think. So this is a 2-lane road going both directions. This is 64, but this is called the high-rise bridge. And the high-rise bridge is named that because it's a high rise. It's a high bridge, and so put you at the highest point here. You can see where's downtown Norfolk? You can kind of see it from here, I think. There it is, back there. That's downtown Norfolk. And so it's cool. It's a cool view, but it can back up too. And so let's do this is helpful. So we go back here. My internet's super slow, but this will take you up towards Chesapeake, towards the base, but they're extending this to where they're putting 2 more lanes on this side, 2 more lanes on this side, widening this whole thing because this whole section of 64 backs up. It can back up. And so, when you're going back, let's look at the map again. If you're looking at coming from Chesapeake and Suffolk, these sections here, you can still have traffic here. This is not like an easy comfort cruise, to quote Kramer from Seinfeld, if anyone knows the reference. You come down here, it can be totally fine, but during rush hour, you can still have some problems here, especially going both directions. The further you go on this road, the easier it is. But if you try and get off of one of the, like, for example, this corridor right here, really backs up quite a bit. So once they widen these lanes, it's going to help out quite a bit, I think. But this is the way to go. If you're going to go around, there are express lanes. They're going to add, I think, one express lane here. It's going to be a toll though. So if you just go no cost, no nothing, 664 to 64 over the high rise, all the way through to 564 or Little Creek is my thought there. Let's see. David's got more comments. Comment away. Love it. And so I hope that's helpful because I do think there is going to be I'm a little bit worried about new construction and just in housing in general going into the new year because there's just so little of it. I've looked at in Virginia Beach right now, just as an example, I think there are about 700 houses that are listed, that are under contract or available on the market right now total. Of those 700, and I'm rounding numbers, it's like 690 or something like that. Of those, say 700, about 150 of them are available, meaning they're on the market. That's like 20% of the houses on the market. So not many right now. So you've got people. So you think about this over the last few months. You've got people that are trying to find a house that can't, or they got a house, but there are other people that are trying to like, hey, I want to wait this last year out for various reasons, personal reasons. If they're thinking the market's going to adjust, and now they're thinking, hey, it's now time to buy a house. So those people that have been on the sidelines watching are now ready to go. You got people that have been wanting to buy that have not been able to buy that are still ready to go. And there are fewer houses for sale right now because it's the holiday season. So what's going to happen? I'd say the first week or so of January is going to be very telling to see what happens as houses start getting listed. The first ones that are nice that pop up, boom. How fast do they sell? But not even like how fast they sell, because they'll sell fast until interest rates jump up. But the question is, how much over asking price will they go? Because what happens as January comes and those new houses hit the market, not just new, but resale houses. Those houses that go under contract in January and close in February, those are new comps for the next houses that list in those same areas. So it gives the people that are listing more reason to try and ask for a little bit more and then a little bit more. And if the scarcity is still there, what do you think is going to happen? The price goes from 500 to 515 to 522 and so on. So going from January up to June, for example, in that whole peak, like even the school zone moving range, you got, if nothing changes, main thing is interest rates. If interest rates stay generally speaking, where they are, I could see these prices continue to increase some for people, especially that are staying here for a long time. Because again, you got the people that are buying to speculate. I'm going to buy and sell in a year. I don't advise that. The longer you stay in your house and maximize the cheap interest rate, the better you have it, because that house that's 550 right now, for example, or 500, if $500,000 at 3.25, 3.5, or 3%, or whatever your interest rate is going to be, maybe less than, I don't know, whatever your interest rate is going to be, that house at 500 now is going to be cheaper than a house at 485, but with a 4.25% interest rate, or 475 at a 4.5% interest rate, or whatever. As interest rates climb, the prices don't necessarily reflect. Once the interest rates climb, it does not mean the prices are going to drop. They could sag and they could start slowing down, which I do think could help just slowing down the pricing. But if there aren't enough houses to go around, what's going to happen? And I don't know how many people are going to be trying to be aggressive to get houses right now. So it's hard to tell. The biggest question is how many houses are going to go on the market? How many will be selling in January, February, March? I've talked to people that are, they're gearing up. So we'll see. And that's going to influence a lot of pricing, a lot of activity in the first couple of months. So make sure and watch the first 2 to 3 weeks of January. That will, to me, be a good indicator of what happens in February, March, and April. And then you can ask me questions later, like in that time frame. Hey, how's it going? What are you seeing? How are the prices looking? Because I will say, going into the school season, that's where it gets real competitive, because people want those school districts. People want to be in. They want to be moved from one house to another. Transition from April into May. That's the peak season. So with that becomes more demand, and if there are less houses, what are we going to do? So anyway, going back to Phil has the question, or being stationed in Norfolk, trying to find the most bang for buck housing wise, deciding between Chesapeake and Suffolk. Yeah, this is the game right here. And I would also include, again, is Carrollton too far? Maybe that's too far, but Chesapeake, Western Branch, if you're okay with that, Suffolk. And thanks, David. Yes, and he's absolutely right. Suffolk's a little more rural, but the new building he's talking about going up fast. That's right, and it's coming soon. They're all coming soon. Yes, thanks, David. And the answer to that is yes, they become videos. They're posted. Once they're done, you might see a lag with how long it takes. Once the live stream finishes, it will go up, but it might take a little bit of time, and then all of a sudden it'll just boop, it'll pop up. So I don't know when YouTube will like automatically load it, but there's, I guess, some rendering going on beforehand. So just be ready for that. But yeah, if you have any other questions, I'll put my info here as well. This is my phone number. I'll put my email too. Yeah, if you have questions, but again, keep posting questions if you have more in the chat. But I'm going back one more time to the pricing of the next 2 or 3 months. This is where it leads into the new construction element. And this is where I think people are thinking about I want to lock in a price and buy a house now to make sure I don't buy in May or June when the prices are higher. So I'll buy a new construction now. That is a common thought, which is a very valid and legitimate thought that, like, hey, I want to save from having to lock in later. Why don't I just do it now? That's true. There's some definite pros to that, which you probably have already thought through and know. Like we just know, locking in that price as much as possible. Sometimes builders are trying to adjust that, but right now I'm not seeing that too much. It's really, you lock in that price as much as possible. You can at least stay in that at least general pricing range by the time closing happens in 6, 8, 9 months. Because you're like, hey, if the market is going to keep going up, I want to lock it in. Well, here's my thought here, and this is my concern if you do want to buy new in 2022. You can lock in that house and not have to worry about fighting for multiple offers, and it can reserve your lot. All the benefits to new construction. Don't have to, do the over appraisal, over asking price, way over all this other stuff that I've talked about ad nauseum for resale houses. That is largely diminished for the most part when it comes to new construction. However, the interest rate that you get for that house is not locked. The reason is because you've got a long process between the time that you get the house under contract and the time that you close. And the lender can't lock your interest rate for 9 months. So what you're doing is you're not playing the market for the price of the house necessarily. You're playing the market for the cost of the interest you're paying for that house. So the benefit is you're going to have you might keep the sales price, but you're kind of playing the market a little bit for the next several months in interest rates. My concern here is that I do think interest rates are going to start creeping up, and they already have. I'm seeing it used to be last year, upper 2s was pretty common. Still great, but it's pretty common. Starting to see it drift into the 3.25. Under 4s. I mean, look, my first house in 2006 was at a 7.25 interest rate. So all these 3s and 4s, like what it's all crazy. But under 4, once you start going over 4, you're going to start seeing noticing the cost to buy a house really start kind of hitting home a little bit more at that 4%, 4.5, even 5. Like it's starting to hit there because you'll notice hundreds of dollars a month increase over that time. So again, while you're locking your price in some cases, you might not be locking your cost for the house in some cases. It could go the other way. It might get better, but we just don't know that for sure. So that's the part that you're playing a game with. I say playing games, but you're kind of gambling with. And so you can talk to your lender also to see like what makes the most sense for you. If you're going to be, locking in, should you lock in earlier? How much more does it cost to lock in a longer duration? Now, 9 months, they can't do that, but there are different lengths of time you can lock your interest rates in as you get closer and closer to the closing of the house. So that's what I would say about new construction. Be very careful about that. It's not just, hey, now I've got my house. I'm like, it's not like buying a pair of shoes where you just pay $50 and if you get it in 9 months, you get it in 9 months, it still costs $50. Well, it might still cost $50, but now you have, instead of $4 in interest, you're now paying $5 or $6 in interest. That still costs more. You just didn't realize it in the actual sales price. You'll see it when you get to closing. You'll see how much more of interest you're paying. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's a lot more. if the interest rates rise. Now, and then again, I could be wrong, and then they drop, and then I have egg on my face, and you're like, hey man, I gambled and I won. So stick that, Sam. And I could be right. You could be totally right. But I'm not one to gamble on that long of a time and interest rate. So I would say make sure you love the house for the price and be okay with, hey, if it goes up, almost even factor in what the kind of, not worst case, because who knows what the worst case is in general, but just factor in like, hey, like right now, if interest rates you're getting quoted at 3.25% or 3% or whatever, bump it up some. Just know that, okay, so now if it's going to end up being 3.5%, 3.75%, what will that look like for me? And do I feel good about that payment also? And if you feel good about that payment, then you've got some wiggle room there, because if it goes up, it might not go up that much higher. So you'll have at least some comfort there, knowing that you're possibly most likely taken care of. So going back, I'm going to answer a couple of questions. Oh, David, thank you. Do you know more about YouTube than I do? There we go. 2-3 hours. YouTube includes videos, so they'll be up after that. L Pro, I wish they had more condos in Virginia Beach. I only see a handful in your town center. Great comment. I love this, and you're absolutely right. Close to town center, Columbus Square is over. Where are we at? There's Columbus Station Square. Over here, just south of town center. I love that area. I think that is one of the most undervalued locations in all of, Virginia Beach in general. I just think that area, you can still get a condo in that area for around $200,000. I think that's pretty good. 2-bedroom. Again, for what you're getting, it's pretty awesome. You're close to all the stuff in town center. You're close to 264. Anyway, but you're absolutely right. I wish there was more there. There are also the apartments near, I guess, the Hilton. The Westin right there. But yeah, a lot of older houses, especially in the northern side, or at least both sides actually. But smaller brick ranches on the north side, and then going on the south side, you've got more like 60s style houses, real nice areas, real nice neighborhoods. But yeah, I wish there were more condos in that section. I think part of the problem is because in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, 60s, back when they were building all of Pembroke, they weren't planning on it being the town center that it is right now. This was just all a bunch of Pembroke Office Park. That's what was there. Pembroke 5, Pembroke 4, a bunch of Pembroke buildings. And so there was, and this Pembroke Mall was really all that there was. There was no town center. So they didn't expect all this to happen. So I think that's possibly also why there were fewer condos. And if you go over here, there's some townhouses over past Thalia, over here near, going too far, over here near, where am I at? Gee whiz. Come on. Where am I at? Oh, what's going on? There it is. Yeah, near the McDonald's. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. It's in here pilling around. Southeast Thalia right here. These are some nice little townhouses for like the 250 range. I'll show you right here. Yeah, it's for what you're getting, being that close to central Virginia Beach. This is great, for what you're paying for. You want condos, go south 40 miles to Carolina Outer Banks, Condo City. Yeah, I don't know much about the Outer Banks as far as condos go, but I can guess that's probably accurate. Fishing, yes. Family of 6 looking for a good spot. It's kid friendly. Yeah. I don't know much about fishing personally. I have a lot of friends that fish, but I don't want to get myself into trouble saying things about fishing that I don't know. But I would say I don't know how good the fishing is over on this section. Maybe David, do you know? I don't know. But I can find out too. That's a good question. I recommend Chesapeake, kid friendly, Busch Gardens, close to Busch Gardens. Oh, consult with coworkers about community. Yeah. So I guess close to Busch Gardens. When you say Chesapeake, are you talking about Western Branch, David? Because it is like if you're going South Chesapeake, yeah, that's pretty far. But if you're going like Western Branch, yeah, Busch Gardens. You're 40 minutes or so. Not bad. Maybe even a little bit less than that. 35. Yeah, 40 minutes. And I want to touch on Williamsburg real quick. And if you do find yourself wanting some character in a house and you don't want Virginia Beach and pay Virginia Beach prices like $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, you can get under $5 in Virginia Beach, like the 4s too, for what I'm talking about. But you can shift over if you're okay with the commute. Williamsburg has got some great areas. Now, Kingsmill is in that same Virginia Beach price range, like 5, 6, 7, and also Ford's Colony over here as well. But I love those two neighborhoods. I love them. Golf, great golf if you love golf. Ford's Calling and Kingsmill both have golf courses nearby. Kingsmill, it was an LPGA course for a while too. They've got an LPGA tour tournament that still is there. Colonial Williamsburg, you've got just more character and some nice houses in Williamsburg areas. School districts, some of them are fine. There are some others that are close that you get real high ranked over in Yorktown. So if you don't like Williamsburg and want a little bit closer, I would definitely go consider Yorktown, Tab High School, anywhere near Grafton. These areas have high ranked school districts. And if you're going to be driving anywhere from, Langley, Fort Eustis, definitely check out this section too. Sorry, I pivoted totally across, but I need to go back to answer some more questions. Jeff, regarding condos, what is normally covered in HOA fees? I will answer your question right now, Jeff. David says Western Branch. Yes. Kingsmill, Ford's Colony. Cha-ching. Yeah, it's expensive in there. I would say the more expensive of those two is the third one called Governor's Land. Super expensive to get into. I think it's almost now $25,000 to get in to start. You're paying into a social club and all that. But I love those areas though. But to answer your question, Jeff, it depends on HOA fees. HOA fees, most of them, so you've got two separate types of fees. You've got condo fees and you've got HOA fees. HOA fees there's what's called the homeowners association, and that's an area where you own the property that you live in, the yard itself, the house itself. Condos are different than HOAs, so you can have a condo fee and also an HOA fee. Condos is a place where you don't own all the property. There's a lot more common area. You own the structure. So you're paying in the condo fee, you're paying like for a lot more insurance. You're paying for often exterior insurance on the property often. And also things like, water, sewer, sometimes. It's never the same. Each one's different. Water, sometimes sewer, sometimes trash pickup. If it's for example, a condo, like a 2-bedroom condo, there's a lot of places that have those big trash dumpsters. You're paying for the trash, and so you dump your trash into there, so they take that out. Ground maintenance, common area maintenance, street maintenance, even stuff like, even the community center. Sometimes you'll get a pool. You'll get a pool, a community center, tennis courts, any sort of exercise room in some cases. You'll find some, even especially Newtown's a good example of this, where you've got almost like a full inclusive area. Got they have some of them have exercise rooms, is what I was going to try and tell you, is what I meant to say. But condos include more of the time you've got condos that include exterior insurance, because you don't own the same thing with a condo as you would do with a single family detached single family dwelling. It just has an HOA. You can have both. You have an HOA fee and a condo fee, but just know that there is a difference. And with an HOA fee, it's mostly just things like common areas. So you live in your house, you own your house, own your yard. Oh, with condos, you're also paying often for grass cutting and for common areas, or sometimes your front area too. But with HOAs, it's not necessarily your insurance, because if you have a house that you own yourself and the land, you're paying that separately. In HOA, you're just paying, for example, like the community association or the, even ground maintenance, some of the same things, just not as much as you might find with a condo fee. Now, another thing I would check though, just note this, is that make sure you know what those condo or HOA fees are going towards. The reason is because some of them are pretty expensive. And the reason is there are several neighborhoods especially in Virginia Beach, a couple of them in Virginia Beach, I think one in Chesapeake or two, where they have agreements with cable companies to literally, they give you cable, but you're paying for it in your condo fee. So now you'll see a condo fee of like $350 or $400 a month. That's because you're paying like $2 for that cable package or whatever that they have contractually agreed to. And you can't get out of that. They cannot get out of that. It's a contract. Could be for several years, 10, 15 years. So if you see the high condo fee, keep in mind that could be the reason why, and make sure you have to be okay with that cable. And sometimes you're getting cable that you don't use, or the telephone that you don't use, because some of these contracts that they got back before cord cutting was even a bigger thing. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at condo HOA fees. And I think that would be a good summarization of HOA fees. There's a lot there. It can be a lot there, but just check and see what things each one covers. And you'll also find too, I guess, that when you see how neighborhoods that have more aesthetically pleasing areas that are more uniform, there's usually a cost to that. And that might be a cost of, more ground maintenance, for example. And there's probably something you're paying to make it look like that. And so people like the idea of symmetrical and cleaner neighborhoods. But if you don't want to, well, people like that, but it comes at a cost is what I'm trying to say. So that cost is in your fee. Someone's taking care of that, So if that answers your question. To Kingsmill. Kingsmill was built for the uber rich executives of Anheuser-Busch back when they had a Michelob Classic Hero Man. The beer was free. Yeah, so Kingsmill was pretty hopping in the 90s. I will say that for sure, and then 2000s. But it's still a great neighborhood. I would not say it's for the uber rich now anymore. I would say, but I think there's some great areas up there around Kingsmill, and you're close to colonial Williamsburg as well. But anyway, I think that's good for now, except for one thing. I'd just say to summarize: Chesapeake, Suffolk, Carrollton. I think there's a great options to look at if you want bang for buck, and also new construction. Just be ready for snag your lot early if you want new construction. Get the best lots are often the ones where you have to project out far enough in advance. So because when builders release their lots, the best lots get bought up quickly, reserved quickly. So make sure you get on a reservation list as fast as possible so you can pick the lot you want, and make sure you can wait out that process. But be prepared for 7, 8, 9 months process. Don't be surprised, because it's going to take some time, and be very, very willing to adapt to new construction, to the builders' issues with supply chain stuff. It's a real thing, and if the cabinets don't show up on time, the countertops don't show up on time, or something happens with the construction, it can delay the rest of the process and create a domino effect. So that too, that keep a loose grip on that completion date, because it could change. But remember, you lock in your price oftentimes, but you also, with new construction, you also can't lock in your interest rate yet. And when you're doing new construction that early, so you're kind of still playing the market. So just because you feel like you're saving the cost of cheaper, just know that it might not be cheaper if interest rates rise. So that's good. Oh, and David, I'm going to answer your question now too. In Chicks Beach, I'm saying 2-unit no fee condos. Why don't they just categorize those as duplexes? So that's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that, because you can have single family detached condos that you own the property. And I think this is because, well, okay, I say I don't know. There are a lot of times where this happens, and I can explain to you what happens. 2-unit condos, there is how you want to say. So two-unit condos have condo fees, or I'm sorry, have condo docs. Even though they're no fee condos. What they're agreements between both people. And it's just 2 of them. And so there is an agreement between both people that there will be certain things maintained, certain things done. Like, so for example, if there's a shared wall or shared roof, what happens? There's like there's a more of a low key agreement. This, can be great if you have people next to you that you like. Now, granted, again, if you don't, then that could be a problem. But there is an agreement often drawn up. But it's not as significant. So like with condos, like bigger condo developments, you're going to have dozens and dozens or hundreds of pages sometimes of these condo fees, condo docs. Keep saying fees. But with these 2-unit condos or 3-unit condos, you'll see them several pages. It's not very complex. Yes, seeing detached single family condos too. Yeah, you'll see those in a great example is over in South Chesapeake in Hickory Manor. Dragus builds new construction over there in the 5s. They're detached condos. They can be deceiving because you think that they're single family houses and you're not paying any condo fees. But the reality is that you are paying condo fees, and you don't own the yard in front of you. It's the structure and actually the backyard as well in that case. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at Hickory Manor, great houses, great looking houses, the neighborhoods, like school districts, nice. But just keep in mind, those are condos, and you're paying the condo fee, and you're not getting that front yard looks like it's yours, and you can still use it, but they're cutting the grass. And the reason is because it's not yours, it's theirs. But the reality too is like how many people actually run across someone else's front yard, even though it's considered community areas, common areas. So anyway, so just keep that in mind when you're looking at condos, detached condos. Make sure, just check if you see one telltale sign is if you look at a neighborhood and it's super clean, super like, not polished is the wrong word, but real pristine, almost too pristine, good chance is it's being managed by an association. And so if you look at the detached houses and you see that, good chance it's a condo. So make sure you ask your agent about that and see if it is. And how does that factor into common areas? If there are any issues with common areas, it's again, people kind of keep to themselves anyway, but just know, like a good example is Hickory Manor, great neighborhood, but it's just structured differently. And so you have to kind of just approach that, knowing that going into it. So that's it for tonight. For tonight, I think we've got an hour. Didn't want to take you guys. I know we got Christmas coming up. People getting ready for Christmas. So thanks, guys, for watching. And if you have more questions, post them in the comments below. And or you can email me and call me. I also have my contact information right. Where is it? Right. Hello. Well, there it is. Right there. And you can email me, sam@samsantalone.com. You can email me anytime, and usually phone, text, I can respond to you faster. But reach out anytime, and I'll answer as fast as I can and do whatever I can to help you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, or I will see you before the New Year posting a new video, but I will see you on the next video.